All right, JHK here for Sportskeeda, and join me right now is UFC bantamweight contender Aspen Ladd. Aspen, I'm happy to have you for the first time. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
No doubt. Now, let's start off with what you've been through for the last, let's say, almost 18 months, right? You went through the knee injury, the surgery, the recovery since the Kuniskaya fight, going through everything that entails. Was it one of the most difficult things you've been through in your life, you think?
I would definitely say so because it takes you have no control anymore, and everything that you want to do, your career, anything that you enjoy, you no longer can. So yeah, when I end up fighting next week, it'll be a year and 2 months since,
Mhm.
or 2 weeks since my surgery.
You're a hiker and you like to hike and you're known for that. If you go on your Instagram, it's like hiking everywhere, swimming, all of that. And when you first got injured and you had to step away from that, something that you've been doing for pretty much your whole life, was that difficult?
Very, extremely difficult. So you can't train, can't hike. I had about 6 weeks there where it was like I was building back up, but it was like a 50-minute mile. It was horrible, a horrible experience.
A 50-minute mile? Wow.
Wow, I had a big old brace on my leg,
Okay.
and you had to like reteach yourself how to walk right.
Mhm.
So that is legitimately how long it took me right after surgery to walk a mile.
Did your doctor say it was all right, or were you just like, I'm gonna walk, I'm gonna go hike no matter what?
Do what you can tolerate,
Hmm.
and falls up, ease up. So we played with that a little bit.
Okay, okay. Now, other than that, any other, major obstacles throughout that recovery?
There, it took a long time, longer than I expected. So before surgery, I'm going to get back as soon as I can. I'm going to be the first one back. I'm going to rehab as fast as possible. But as you're going through it and you realize exactly what's going on and how bad it is, you then get to the point of no, I'm going to get back when it's safe because I never want to do this again. So just it was probably worse than I expected, but here I am a year later and it's perfect. The knee works great.
For sure. And your mind is saying, go, go, go. Your body is not going. How do you battle that?
By listening to people that know better than me, my physical therapist, listening to my coaches because they were my voice of reason when I didn't want to listen.
For sure, for sure. Now, doctors, you have to listen to them. Now, because of that, you're returning July 24th. You got a good opponent ahead of you. There were other matchups. A lot of people, fans, they probably thought made more sense. How did you land on Macy?
Okay, so initially we had tried to get Pena because I'd been supposed to fight her twice last year before I blew my knee out, and then they rebooked me as Sarah McMahon, and that's when I got injured at that camp. So obviously we still wanted to fight her. We were trying for that fight, but everybody knows how that went. She ended up getting the Nunes fight. After that, it was Raquel Pennington. So I've always wanted to fight her, and it'll be a banger of a fight. And she had a good reason. She's like she wanted to fight before I would be physically ready. I could not be ready before a certain date with my knee. So I was like, all right, I understand that. Although she must have gotten injured or something, she hasn't fought since then. And after that, there's nobody left that didn't have a dance partner in the top 10. So we ended up landing on Macy. There's a couple other things going on with contract negotiations and other women, and they just were not fighting at the time. So it was me and Macy, and we got that matchup, and I'm happy for her. She's a big, strong girl, and she's done very well.
Yeah, great test. And what is your breakdown of her skill set? We've seen her go through the Ultimate Fighter and she's had a couple fights in the UFC.
Yeah, she's well rounded. She will engage anywhere. She likes to strike. I mean, you watch her fights ago, she's a striker, but she's not unwilling to engage in grappling or clench, and she's not bad at either one. She's good. She's well rounded everywhere.
Having her, fighting at 145 and coming down to 135, does strength? Do you think strength is a major factor in those weight divisions, or do you feel like the girls in both divisions are very similar in that aspect?
It depends on the women. So you get somebody like a true 45er who cannot physically get down to 35. That's a big woman. That's like 6 feet tall, and she struggles to make 45s. And then you have, if we took away the water cut, all the 35ers would be 45ers. So Macy's probably on the border there where it's very difficult for her to make 35, but she can still do it.
That's an advantage, though, right? Don't you believe? Like when you head into a fight.
Not necessarily. Like it's rough for me to make 35. It's if you can avoid a terrible cut, that will pay dividends in the fight. So you could kill yourself to get to a weight class, or you could fight where your body naturally wants to be. Personally, I'd love it if they got rid of water cuts, period, because then every single 35er would be a 45er.
Yeah, definitely. And what about you? Throughout the last year or so, did you work on that too? You know, getting the diet different, or maybe tweaking the diet, or trying some new things?
Not necessarily new things. So the last few fights, we've gotten pretty dialed in, pretty good at the cut. It's still the worst part of it, but right now I'm feeling good. So yeah.
Yeah, you look good. Like the pictures that you've uploaded, you know, people are always looking at that to see if like where the fighter is at in their camp and all of that. But you look really lean and cut. You know, how do you feel like physically?
Physically, I feel great, better than I expected to for sure. It's like you're getting ready for a fight. It's the same old. I mean, it's been over a year for me, so it's like getting back to what everything's supposed to be. But I feel great.
Are you getting the nerves? Is it a little bit different because of how long you've been away?
Not necessarily. So the nerves never really get me as far as fighting goes. The only time I feel it is after your hand's been wrapped during the walkout up until the ref says go. Besides that, no, I'm just happy to be back. Extremely happy.
Yeah, you kind of have a like this like attitude, or it's not really an attitude. It's just like this aura about you when you fight. It's kind of like Ryan Hall in a way, where it's like you're just going in there to fight. You know, it's not. You know, you don't really overhype it too much.
No, we're doing. I mean, a lot of people they talk trash. They do all kinds of things. They have to hype themselves up. We're about to go physically fight. Like, what's there to say? What there's to do? That's the biggest equalizer on planet Earth. We don't. There's nothing extra that needs to be added to that besides the action that we're about to go try to kill each other.
Definitely. And I spoke with Miranda Maverick
Mm.
2 weeks ago, and she was talking, or about a week ago, I guess, and she was talking about the sessions that she was doing with you in Las Vegas and how beneficial it was. How was it training with her? She's one of the rising stars in that featherweight division, or not featherweight, flyweight division.
Miranda is a talented athlete and very, very big and strong for her weight class. And I'm excited to see her fight and where she goes. We got along great. Like, I think she's an awesome person, too.
Is that something that you plan on doing more? Is like cross training with her? Because she was telling me it's hard for her to find like other women willing to come and train with her.
Yeah, when you get to a certain level, it is. And you have to usually look outside your own weight class because as a higher level 35 or 25 or whatever in the UFC, you're not going to fight or train with another high level 25 or 35er unless you've been working with them for the last 10 years and there's like an agreement there. So it's very difficult to find a good, solid female training partner and somebody you trust when you're getting close to a fight and you can't get injured.
So, what type of performance are you expecting out of yourself against Macy?
That's an interesting question. You have to tune in and see.
Okay, okay. I should have phrased that differently. I knew that's usually your response to those types of questions. I wanted to talk about not the last, but the only setback of your career, right? Which was against GDR. Take me to the weeks following that fight. Where was the mindset at?
Just to get back in there and get back on track.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a bad day with what I do, a bad day in this job is everybody sees it and it's a little bit extreme, but it's still just one day. Okay, you have the one setback, you move forward.
Facing that, right, is that something that you've always saw happening? I mean, you don't want it to happen, but it might happen, or were you, because some fighters are in denial too at the same time, where they're like, it's never gonna happen, I'm never gonna lose.
No, so I think if you've been in the sport long enough, you've faced some kind of adversity. You've lost at something, whether it be a tournament, a fight, whatever. And I have lost once as an amateur, and then obviously in tournaments and jiu-jitsu competitions, all kinds of things. Like, you face defeat, you become used to it. That's just on the next level. It's just a bigger stage. But it's something that if you're in martial arts, you become accustomed to. Not necessarily all the time if you're doing your job right and you're good at it, but it does happen. Every now and then somebody's gonna have a better day than you.
How did that transform you, or did it transform you?
Not necessarily. I think it was just the anticipation of coming back and getting, as I said, back on track. So even more excitement, more like, all right, let's get on the road. Let's do this.
You said in the past that you don't like any of your opponents heading into a fight. Where does that mentality come from? Have you had it since the start of your career?
Yes, that person's trying to take everything from you. They're trying to take your success. They're trying to take your cash. They're trying to take everything that you've worked for. So why would you like them? They're trying to do the absolute worst thing they can to you, and you're trying to do it to them. Afterwards, some people can get along, but not before.
When you see fighters hugging each other during the actual fight, is it
Mm.
very odd and confusing to you? Because you have that mentality, right?
Yeah, some people are just that way. Like I know some people that way. They're very nice. They're nice humans. They could compartmentalize that. I'm not one of them.
Now, a big fight coming up. I just wanted to pick your brain on that. Is at UFC 265. Amanda Nunes is going to defend her belt against Juliana Pena, someone that you were supposed to fight. From your perspective, what does Pena need to do to dethrone Nunes?
She needs to grapple her. She needs to make herself heavy. She needs to weigh down on Amanda. She's got to close the distance and make it more of a grinding fight. She's got to push her cardio and get it to the. If she can get it to the ground, fantastic. But she can't be at distance with her.
So just continually just take down, cage pressure, take down until it's just wearing down.
Even that necessarily, even if she makes it a boring fight, like I'll give you an example. You know, Holly Holm, she's very good at cage work, holding people up against the fence. It might not necessarily be entertaining, but that burns out your opponent. I think that's the kind of fight it's going to take to really burn out Amanda Nunes.
Okay. But what do you think will actually happen in that fight?
It's hard to bet against the champ, and I think very few people are going to be doing it.
Now, you mentioned 145 earlier. Before they possibly get rid of that division, because it's a possibility, what would it take for you to move up and fight? Would it be for the belt, or if is it the money? Maybe just give you some extra money.
Heck no, they can call me on 2 weeks' notice, and I'll take a fight. Like, that sounds fantastic. I've always wanted to, because for me, 35 is not easy, and it takes a lot of preparation and time for me to be able to get there. But they call me for a 45 fight, 2 weeks, sweet, I'll take it.
Yeah, I'm confused by that, because I would figure, like, if you're open to it, why would they just not book you for a 45 fight? You know what I mean? It's so, like you said, 2 weeks.
Yeah, no, we'll see this upcoming year, but I think it has something to do with where I am in the division right now, and they need contenders at 35. That's what, if I'm thinking about it from their point of view, I think that's probably why. But we'll see. Maybe I'll get lucky.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. You know, more opportunities is always good. One last thing before I let you go. You know, there's this clip going around of Joe Schilling getting into an altercation at a bar with the drunk guy, right? And you know, men, they're filled with egos and unrealistic views of their fighting skills. You know, like men like me, you know, people on the street, normal people, and especially when they're drunk. You know, have you ever experienced, like, men or women, any kind of altercation like that outside of just in the gym?
Generally, I'm a very calm person. I don't start anything like that, and anybody under contract with UFC shouldn't, and or they should not get caught ever. Um, but yet, no. I mean, in the gym, yes, there's a lot of testosterone. There's a lot of different personalities. Things happen, and then they fight it out and they get over it. But not outside of it, no.
In the gym, you know, like you just said, sometimes it gets out of hand because, you know, you're in the business of fighting. And Colby Covington, he released this video of, like, Dustin Poirier sparring. You know what I mean? Do you feel like that was something that should not happen in the sport? Or do you feel like it's fine, it is what it is, like, you can do whatever you want?
Nah, I don't think it should be done. If you're sparring, you're in somebody's gym, or vice versa, it shouldn't get out there. I mean, if you have an agreement and you both want to take video to study it, whatever. But no, you should never release that. That's terrible.
All right. Aspen, thank you so much. You return to action July 24th in Las Vegas. I'm excited to see you return and, you know, get closer to that title. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you for having me.